Hello, Powers Resource Center clients, colleagues, and friends. Tara Powers, CEO. And this week's Tara's Tips is actually on boundary setting. If you read my blog this week, either on our website or on LinkedIn, you saw that I wrote a little bit about going back into work and setting boundaries so that we don't construct walls. We've been away from each other for quite some time, and a lot of the things that we normally could let slip virtually when we get back into the office, there's going to kind of be a period of time where we are coming back together and dealing with different personalities, right? We're going to go through that forming, storming, norming, performing phase that all teams go through, and it's certainly going to happen when we get back to work. So one thing that I wanted to do is to help you create your boundary response plan. So how do you actually respond when boundaries are being crossed so that you can transition back into the workplace in a positive, helpful way and not be stressed and connect with your team as quickly as possible? So I put together a little boundary response plan here. It's a 5-step plan, which you can see here on the screen, and you'll get an opportunity to access this. But let's go through these 5 steps, and I want you to be thinking about them and certainly practicing them as you go back to work. You can also use this in a virtual environment too. So step 1 is to take a moment to reflect on some of the situations that you know you will likely need to set boundaries around. That could potentially be comments that you find offensive or rude that maybe you were able to just brush off when you were virtual, but you know when you get back into the office, that's not going to be okay. Inappropriate questions or inappropriate tasks may be asked of you. Maybe another person you're afraid they're going to dominate the conversation, or you're going to be asked to do something that you don't want to do, and you know that you need to set some boundaries. I want you to think of those situations and write them down. Okay. Step 2 is you're going to define your emotional reaction. So I want you to think about a time when that boundary was crossed in the past and how you responded to it. What was your verbal response? What happened to your body? What happened emotionally? How did you feel? Right? What went on for you, so that you're very, very clear about when a boundary is being crossed, so that you're aware and that you know, I need to do something at this point, right? The boundary's being crossed and I need to go back to my plan, which is step 3. So you're going to create a plan to calmly speak up and address the boundary that has been crossed effectively. How do you do that? So basically, we need to get a hold of our emotions and take care of them, or the emotions are going to drive our responses and reactions. And really, we want you to be in the driver's seat. So, how can we do that? Consider some things you might do. Breathing is an amazing way to calm yourself and respond appropriately. So, taking 3 deep breaths can be very, very helpful. Perhaps taking a time out, taking a break, and leaving the situation just for a few minutes, walking around the building, getting some fresh air, visualizing yourself calm. If you're going into a situation where you really know that a boundary most likely is going to be crossed, take just a few minutes to visualize yourself responding calmly with the next step, which is going to be having some boundary setting statements that you can use. Silently say to yourself, my emotions are not in charge of me. I am in charge of my emotions. And then really just observe the emotion that's happening before you respond. Okay, these are all really important ways to actually retrain your brain from becoming reactionary to really being in charge of what happens next. And then step 4 is creating a list. Have it in a back pocket, a list of statements, boundary setting statements that you rely on that work for you. So let me give you a couple examples. When that boundary's crossed, you might say something like, I'm not comfortable with this, or I am not comfortable what I'm hearing, or I'm not comfortable how this conversation is going. Another way to address boundaries is to say, sorry, but this doesn't work for me because. Thanks for the offer, but I'm going to decline. I see your point, but I actually think differently about this. Thank you for the invitation, but I have another commitment. Sorry to interrupt, but I need more information. Or sorry to interrupt, but I have a different opinion. Those are all boundary setting statements that you need to have in your back pocket that you can draw on in those moments when you feel those emotions kind of rising up. And then step 5, as you watch this video, I want you to take just a few minutes to reflect on which action steps are you willing to take? What are you willing to commit to set boundaries as you get back in the office so that you can feel empowered when you go back to work and that you can feel deep levels of connection with your team, because that's what we care about, is that you're creating a culture of connection, and that actually requires all of us to set some healthy boundaries for ourselves. I hope that this was helpful today. If you use this tip, let us know, because we really are grateful when we hear your success. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.